Dear friends, welcome to the channel The Eastern Front. Despite the popularity of the tank topic, it's still possible to meet the question of the purpose of the log on the Soviet and Russian tanks. After all, from the birth of armored forces to today, it's an integral attribute of trucked armored vehicles. It would seem, why is there a piece of wood on an expensive and high-tech car? But as you know, there is nothing superfluous in the army, and today we will talk about the self-pulling log. Back in the First World War, the British began to hang rectangular logs with chains on the first Mark IV tanks. The so-called unditching beam was attached to the trucks of the stock vehicle, helping it to overcome the difficult sections. The log was securely fixed under the weight of the machine in the vicious ground, and the tank used it as a support. Despite the simplicity and effectiveness of the log, this method had one drawback. At least two crew members had to be outside of the armored shelter for a long time, under threat of enemy fire. And the process of installing a log and attaching it to the trucks is a long and difficult matter. An effective way to simplify the procedure was proposed in the USSR. In the 1930s, the experimental workshops of the Primorsky group were headed by Anatoly Fedorovich Kravtsov. Due to the potential theater of military operations with swamps and rice fields, the issue of tank patency was particularly acute. Even the relatively light T-26 and BT were hopelessly stuck in the blurred ground. In these conditions, Kravtsov came up with the idea of special hooks. The essence was simple. Two hooks, shoulder stops, were attached to the space between the links of the trucks, under which a suitable log was placed. The hooks were pushed off from the log, which became a large and effective ground hook. Preserving the principle proposed by the British, Kravtsov rationalized it, reducing the time of preparing the car for evacuation. By the beginning of the Great Patriotic War, which became the apogee of the use of the tanks, logs saved more than one tank. At the same time, Kravtsov's invention was rare in the USSR. Only the machines operating in the swampy area had a service log, and in the field workshops they made shoulder stops in a private manner. More often, crews were limited to a standard cable and a suitable log. The essence was simple: a log with a cross-section of 20–25 cm, with a length of 1 meter exceeding the width of the tank, was attached perpendicular to the free part of the trucks. The movement of the trucks buried the log into the ground, and the tank was already pushing off from it, overcoming a difficult section. As a result, the Kravtsov stops were completely abandoned. After all, each caterpillar required a detail of its shape, and the rope or chain was suitable in any case. One of the most common misconceptions regarding the self-pulling log says that foreigners couldn't guess the purpose of the log for Russian tanks. Naturally, this is not the case. During the Second World War, the British and American tankers used logs to evacuate stuck tanks. For example, in the instructions for drivers of truck vehicles for August 1946, manual for the full-track vehicle driver, a method of tank evacuation using a log and a cable is mentioned. And in pictures of that period, you can see the German Berger Panzer Brems with logs on the sides of the cabin. Why is there a log on Russian tanks up to the T-90, and Leopard and Abrams do without this part? The official version of the foreign military is as follows: tanks are designed for defense in conditions of a developed road network, and there are enough regular Bram for their evacuation. Maybe it is, or maybe with the inexorable growth of the mass of Western cars, the self-pulling log became useless and the only hope remains a powerful evacuation technique. Due to the fact that the self-pulling log is used only in the post-Soviet armed forces, it has become the subject of close attention. And when a public demonstration of the T-14 Armata took place in 2015, the first question was unexpected: where is the log? On the one hand, it can be assumed that the parade tank, positioned at the cutting edge of the armored science, decided not to associate with the archaic log. But there are also other versions. So in 2014, a patent was issued for a triangular vehicle self-pulling device. According to the authors of this device, it compares favorably with the log, compactness and lower weight. At the same time, its characteristics are not inferior to the self-pulling log. Dear friends, that's all for today. It was Tim and the Eastern Front channel. If you like my video, don't forget to press like and subscribe to the channel. And as usual, I wish you peace and health. See you.